What's going on, everyone? What's going on? Someone can just give me the all clear, make sure we're all good. Voice is clear. What's going on, Key? What's up, Sis? Joe? Renee, what's going on? Oh, it's almost Friday. It's almost. Someone can just give me a quick go ahead on the mic test, mic test. Facebook Meta. Yeah, I'm still not actually comfortable calling this stock Meta yet. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand this whole name change. It's just ridiculous. I'm good. Appreciate that, Cyber. Well, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Today was a pretty awesome Thursday. I mean, the strange part about today, even though it felt like such an amazing day, they literally let five mega cap tech stocks really pretty much run the market today. And that was really pretty much what you pretty much saw is because we saw the laggers of, I want to say Tesla for the most part because we weren't accustomed to what Tesla's price action was today, only being up $7. We also had a lagger in Facebook and also in Netflix. All right, so those are pretty much the three laggers as far as those big tech stocks. And then if you were in either name of Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Shopify, and Apple, then you are pretty much just feasting. All right, so those are the five names that pretty much really ran the market. Those are the names that you probably primarily made profits on today. And before I even get into any tickets here, just want to get a reminder for everyone, and including myself. If you made profits today, just make sure to take it a little easy tomorrow. It is Friday. It's being OPEX week, having all the movers that we had today. Expect a little bit of chop tomorrow. So don't be so quick to jump the gun tomorrow, thinking, you know what? Oh, I'm ready for tomorrow after seeing today's price action and seeing futures right now that we're pretty much busting right now to the north. All right. So I just want to give a friendly reminder on that. Don't be quick to give back your profits that you got today. So that's a reminder for yourself and for me as well. But beautiful action here out of those five names that I just mentioned here. I want to see a little bit of a continuation. I will say that Apple pretty much just screwed me because I know that we had the Apple Rapids that came out. You had a chance to get those 10% pretty easily on the Apple Rapids. I got a little bit greedy and holding, and then it went down immediately. And right after I decided to sell it, we had the news that came out with the whole EV car coming out in 2025, which was just baloney to me. That was just the timing on that was amazing. But I wasn't mad about that. I wasn't Amazon at the moment. I literally called out Amazon for everyone here last night, and I even tweeted about it. Did I really expect this kind of move? $147 up that we closed? Nah, I mean I pretty much just only expected $100. The $47 plus in gains extra, that was just a gift. All right. But I did mention that I was expecting an explosive move from Amazon. It just felt like the rotation literally just went into their favor. After all the names that we saw, Microsoft still making highs. We still saw the breakout of Apple. I still think that one has a decent sized move towards 160 before they end up getting a pullback on that one. I believe also Microsoft has a move still, even though it's looking a little bit less likely on Microsoft. I won't be surprised if that rips towards 350 here very soon if the market holds up, granted, going into next week. 350 still on deck for Microsoft also. And then right now, it looks like all eyes are going to be on Google going into tomorrow. All right. So that's what I would pretty much highlight tomorrow is Google. I know that Avery was pretty much just screaming about Google pretty much all morning if you heard him talking about that. Now, I didn't necessarily go to look at the chart until after hours on Google. Otherwise, I probably would have swung some calls on Google. And then I also saw some dark pool that came in on Google as well. So that gives me pretty much hindsight here that they are really going to push Google tomorrow. And I will get into that chart. Now, I don't expect an Amazon type move, so do not go there. All right. $147 for Amazon. You probably won't see that for any of these tech stocks, as they all got their rotation already as it is. And being that Google and Microsoft are probably the 1-2 punch here that really have, I think, the biggest move potentially out of the rest of the names here as we're in the back end of this tech rally. Okay. But let's get into future real quick, and then I'll get into those individual tech names, right? But what I'm actually looking at right now is we had a little bit of a cup and handle type formation here on S&P. We see that we actually broke the resistance here. You see that little orange line on S&P Futures here. We got that breakout here, just minutes ago, as we just pretty much just roared right through it. Literally spiked. Not even a little bit of a test, rejection. No, we literally just went right through it. Although we did end up getting that test, yes, that was the day before yesterday. We ended up hitting that same resistance. Now we just went right through it. And so now, as you see, we're pretty much a little bit of a pullback here. You can see that a little bit of a wick trying to come down. We may end up getting the retest as support, and then we'll get that nice little gap up going into tomorrow, which I anticipate. Granted, any news comes out tomorrow morning or overnight here, that pretty much ends up, giving us a fake out. Okay. But I also have going out, stretching out my chart here, so you see where that little gray line comes into play. For those of you that are not aware, I also have the long-term resistance line that I'm also looking at. So if I zoom in on that resistance line, which pretty much tells me where my potential upside is, then we're looking into opening up range towards 4760. And depending upon how long this run continues, possibly going into Thanksgiving week next week, then we can see between 4760 potentially up towards 4765. So that would all depend on how long this rally really lasts, and going into Thanksgiving next week, that would be my projected target up towards 4765 here so far. Unless we end up continuing and we end up breaking the resistance, then we'll have to evaluate it at that point in time. But so far, my top end resistance will be towards 4765 here. All right. So that's what I'll be looking at towards fuse. Again, if you see the actual little bit ascending wedge that I have here, if we end up getting some kind of fake out on this breakout that we're seeing right now, then we'll see a little bit of a chop, and then you also have as far down towards the support line of the wedge here, which could bring us opening up range down toward 4671. All right, so that will be my downside potential. If we end up getting down towards that range, then we'll have to evaluate tomorrow morning on live here and see where we further continue to drop. And I would only expect that type of downside range if there's any news here overnight, or if they decide to dump us for any particular reason. All right. Switching over real quick to NASDAQ, another one that we see is pretty much making its breakout as well. I had pretty much blew through my supply zone, my upper resistance level that I had for the prior all-time highs. We literally just blew right past it, and then I'm looking at my long-term resistance line, in which we open up range towards 16,592 on NASDAQ futures, and we'll see if we get there even possibly tomorrow. So I wouldn't rule it out going into tomorrow. And just so you see pretty much my long-term resistance line here, so I can pull it out on the larger scale. That is my long-term resistance line that I'm looking at. All right. So let's see exactly what it does going into tomorrow. I mean, we have a lot of time here. As you see, we're already ripping though. So we'll see exactly what it does. And we'll give an update going into tomorrow morning, determining how much more we end up gapping up. All right. Going into real quick here, we can get into Amazon, as we pretty much left off on that one yesterday night. But we pretty much got the move that we expected. We got that nice little blow off candle here. We were pretty much looking in this range, and I said that we are going to get that nice little breakout that we were expecting, and it ended up happening. I didn't expect $147 in one single day. I was more so gauging for just $100 move, in which we would probably just be over about 3,600 by a small amount. But I was not anticipating this type of just explosive upside movement. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that I don't expect us to get another straight line up. I would expect to digest this move just a bit, and if it does continue, it's going to be likely towards next week. All right. So that'll be pretty much what I would say. I'm going to look for a dip. I did take my profits today. I'm not holding any more position in Amazon at this moment. So I will look for this one to get a nice dip. If we get that dip, then I'll potentially look towards getting an entry and then targeting 37.50 all the way up to the high of 37.73. All right. And which buyers are going to be pretty much flooding the gates for 3800 if this does get that nice little pullback, which we anticipate. Okay. So that's what I'm just waiting on. I mean, granted, $147 move. I'm not chasing this much more to the north. That was a pretty explosive move. If it pretty much gets over, I want to say if it gets over this range here, if we see this break over 37.11, then I'll entertain possible upside right away. If that breaks that level tomorrow, then I'll reevaluate it and see if I really want to chase it. I know on the break of that resistance level of 37.11. Otherwise, my primary focus will be more towards Google tomorrow. I mentioned, that's pretty much the one that I'm anticipating is going to be the runner for tomorrow. All right. So going right into Google here, we pretty much see, and I probably can go down to like the 1 hour. I think I can go down to even the 30 minute. Yeah, 30 minute looks a little bit decent here. You can see you potentially have a little bit of a bull flag here formation. You have a pretty much defined parallel channel going upward, and then you can open up range towards resistance here of near that 30.62 mark tomorrow. So if we end up getting that kind of potential spike here in which you see that bull flag, you can get some kind of potential spike of some sort. As you've seen, we spiked prior on two occasions here, or even this, you can say this little small occasion off the support. You see my cursor? So I'll look for this one tomorrow. I do want to see it break over 30.02, and then the next level will be over 30.11. So those are the two key levels that I'm particularly watching, and I will look for those two levels tomorrow morning, and then I'll decide which particular level I feel comfortable entering. So let's see what she does tomorrow morning. If we do get a heavy gap up, or if it pretty much opens flat, that'll pretty much determine which resistance level I decide to get into more comfortably. I would prefer personally to get in over 30.11. But if it doesn't end up gapping up, then 30.02 will probably be your early entry for Google tomorrow morning. All right. Moving over was also Shopify. Shopify was one that a little bit was, it was under the radar. I think I mentioned it on live in the morning when I saw all the runners, and then I pretty much said not to sleep on Shopify, and I didn't really look back at charts, and it just pretty much took off. So that was a beautiful one. I think like a few days ago I mentioned that we had the breakout. Someone asked me to look at the chart, and I was actually expecting it to come back to retest support here on the breakout of this channel. It didn't end up happening, so it's looking more like a megaphone action right now, in which we can open up upside towards 1740, as high as 1740. So I would watch for this one. Not necessarily that it may get the move directly tomorrow. Could be another one that they hold out towards next week. So don't be so quick to jump the gate on it just yet. But the ideal level that you want to see it break over is 1705 will be the ballpark number that I say that you want to see it get over. And that'll be a potential bagger right there that you would really want to get into at that point. Shop tomorrow going to be money, is he? Actually, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the chart does look beautiful. You have a nice little curl towards the upside. Looks like a little bit like a cup formation. You look like you're having a little bit of a small handle here, given the size of that cup. And given the megaphone here, the upside is pretty much already defined towards that 1740 level. So I really like Shop here. Let's see what it does tomorrow. I mean, I know that Google's going to be the runner. Amazon's pretty much going to be, I don't expect it to run. It could be a little bit more of a smaller runner tomorrow, which is only going to make possibly about a what, $20 move or so, $20, $30 move. Probably give back some profits early in the morning. But other than that, we could see Google run, we could see Shop run. I definitely see Microsoft and Apple being up yet again if feuds continue to rip as they are right now. So going right into next, actually I can get right into Microsoft as I just pretty much spoke about Microsoft. The reason I'm pretty high on Microsoft, as you see, it's a pretty defined ascending channel right now. And you are literally hovering right on support of this channel. So if they decide to make this run, that does open up your range towards 350 as you ascend towards the resistance of the channel. All right. So that's what I would look for on this one. I think that this one's going to be a little more sneaky, but I don't think they're really going to gauge this one this week, given all the other runners that we have with the Google, the Shopify, and the Apples of the world, and with Amazon still on that, pretty much on the back burner after today's price action. I don't expect them to run Microsoft this particular week. It may rather be next week, but I still believe that we're going towards 350 here on Microsoft. Granted, tech does hold up. All right. Moving over real quick is Tesla. I'm not really watching much on Tesla, as you pretty much saw today. Tesla was a lagger, Facebook was a lagger, Netflix was a lagger in the market today. So this setup to me is not really that promising as much as I would anticipate compared to the other names in the tech sector that's really more appealing. Granted, the setup that I just showed on Shopify and Google look more appealing than it does on Tesla. That's what I pretty much mean. So, but I could see us opening up range towards my supply zone that I have currently is around that 1144 up towards 1150 area. So we could see a move up towards that area. If we end up breaking down, then I want to see us get below 1072, and then we open up the next level of support towards 1042. And I did see flow going mixed directions. There wasn't a clear direction here on Tesla, which pretty much tells me that it's going to be a bit of a chop here in between this 1000 range to 1100. I don't really see us going anywhere pretty much in a drastic direction is what I mean. All right, and that's why I say the setup on Shop and Google, for that matter, look a lot better than what the setup is on Tesla. All right, and then the last one that I just wanted to point out was Facebook. And actually, I do have one more chart actually. Granted, Facebook was a lagger today. I just wanted to point out the falling wedge action that they actually have on the 30 minute here. So I did see calls coming through on Facebook for 345 and also 350 strike on Facebook. That's just something to note, given that it's a lagger. Just keep it on watch. Pretty much, we want to see it end up getting over that 342 mark. If it gets over 342, then that opens up range towards 345, and we'll see if buyers continue to step in at the resistance of 345. All right, but I want to see this one break over 342, and that'll be where I step in here on Facebook to get long on Facebook there. And the other one that looks exactly similar to Facebook was also Netflix. And actually, I should have extended that. Not sure why I didn't. But the other one that looks particularly the same is pretty much Netflix here. You have a similar falling wedge action. So this one can actually get back towards range of 700. But we want to see this one end up getting the break over 686. And that'll definitely open up that range back towards 700 if we really get that breakout and buyers continue to step in here at that point on the break. All right. But other than that, those are the names that I'm really watching. Granted, they only let 5 names really run today. That really tells you what the market's looking at right now. The only thing that does concern me is that once tech finishes this run, where are we going to really rotate? Granted, we're at all time highs. Are we really going to go back to the banks, the airlines, the cruise lines for that matter? Or what's going to really hold us up as inflation really heats up here? So that's something that I'm going to be watching. As I pointed out the dollar yesterday, keep an eye on the dollar, keep an eye on the 10-year bond yield as tech continues to just finish this end stage of their rally here. Let's see what's going to continue to hold us up as this rally finishes in tech. Because if there's nothing that's going to particularly hold us up and we see flashing warning signals on the 10-year bond yield and also on the dollar, that's going to be something a little alarming. So at that point, then that'll be where I keep all my positions light and I scale back on all my swing positions as well. All right. I know that also IWM had a recent breakout. It actually went back into its zone that it had as well. So that's something to also be highlighted as well for those of you that are watching IWM. So that's something to be noted as well. Keep an eye on how that one does as well. I'll cover about 3 tickers real quick, and that'll probably wrap up our short session here. Trade Desk, I believe that Avery's actually in that for the small account. Nothing that I'm particularly watching on it. If I probably go out, let me see the daily real quick. And that's literally a straight line up. Wow, you're joking. That's literally a straight line up on Trade Desk. Let me see if I get down to the 1 hour. I mean, it looks like it's due for a bounce here. I would particularly say that. You see a little bit of a falling wedge action. Let's see. So if I zoom in here, you're definitely looking at a falling wedge action, which looks pretty defined. Going out to the wicks, particularly. I mean, yeah, you have a textbook falling wedge action here. So you definitely want to see this one get over. If I'm looking for a key level that I want to see a break over, I want to see this get over 107.54. That would be the key level that I want to see Trade Desk get over. but you do look like you have a little bit of more downside here. You could open up range to fill this downside wick toward 103.62. So that would potentially be your max pain level that I would anticipate is that 103.62 level before you trend back towards the resistance and you get that break towards the upside of that 107.52 break that we need. All right. And then you can look at the potential wicks here to be filled that you already have here, looking at that 110 level and then the high of 114. All right. The setup looks beautiful. The spot I don't necessarily mind for entering, and I see why Avery ended up getting in here at this point. The only thing is that yes, you could be prepared to average down if it ends up filling the downside wick here towards 103.60, and that would still be within this falling wedge action that we have. So that would be the only downside I would see right now, in which that would be the level you want to double down basically. All right, or average down for that matter. But trade desk, I like to set up. I mean, they had positive earnings, so positive momentum. The sentiment is just pretty much positive as well. All right. Other than that, let me see. Someone mentioned. All right, I didn't read this. Someone mentioned Neo. Um, Neo just feels like a forever dying stock. I really just get that feeling. It just feels like a never-ending dying stock, and I really don't like anything within the China space. To be honest with you, if I really had to choose a China stock, it would be JD. That would be literally the one China stock that I would choose. And that's pretty much if you had a gun to my head and made me choose a China stock, it would be JD. Otherwise, I wouldn't even touch one. I literally just find nothing appealing to these China stocks right now. And you just have a curling head right now. I wanted to see the long-term resistance level, and that's why you saw that I pretty much just pulled that line out of nowhere. But that's your downtrend is still very defined at this point in time. That's what I will say long term. That's a given fact right now. The other thing that I'm potentially looking at is a little bit of a head and shoulders type action. Probably go down to maybe the 2 hour. Yeah, you're looking at head and shoulders action. So I don't really see anything here that looks appealing. If I were to pretty much write it out for you, which I'll do you that favor, you have a left shoulder right here. I'll label it out to 16. You have your head right here, and then you also have a right shoulder. Nothing appealing about this right now, in my opinion. And I pretty much just pulled it up. So that's what I'm looking at right now, is pretty much your head and shoulders action, and that's why you see that you had that little drop off. And now you're pretty much getting a retest of the neckline on this bounce. Potentially, you may have another wick to the upside here on the 2 hour, potentially maybe two candles up as well. And then you're going to continue to probably see a little more downside here. And then you also have the gap fill down below here, in which that's going to fill under 36.94. So honestly, if you have a position, I would look to get out right near this range of 39.09. Otherwise, prepare for a little bit more downside, is what I would say. All right. Um, Apple, I didn't necessarily cover Apple this time. I mean, they had a monster run. They broke through both of my zones. I mean, the overall target that I have is 160. So I will pretty much tell you that right now. All right. So 160 is the overall target on Apple. Let me see. Macy's was a beautiful one also. That was another runner today. If you caught that one. I mean, Macy's is at all-time highs. It's literally pointing straight upward. My target on that one I saw flow coming in for was the $40 mark. So keep that in mind. You'll see some 40 calls. I anticipate rather though to get some profit taking. So be cautious of that. But the $40 flow was coming in pretty heavily on Macy's. I'll do one more real quick. And is there one more? I'll take a look at GLD. That'll be the last one I pretty much look at. I haven't looked at gold in quite a while. Let's see if I get out to the daily real quick. Very defined downtrend. And it does look like we've actually broken the downtrend as well. So that's actually a good sign. Yeah, we've broken the downtrend here. As you see, those wicks pretty much all align right now. You have that wick that you literally just broke out above the resistance line. You have the wick right in the middle here on this little pop. And I pretty much started right here at the top of this wick. So they all align, a beautiful little breakout here, a little bit of a consolidation. If I zoom in, it looks a little bit like an ascending triangle. Probably looks a little better on the 1 hour because of all the gaps. But yeah, you do have a little bit of an ascending triangle formation right now on GLD. So that's something else to be noted. And I'll pop that in green right now. Yeah, you definitely have a bit of an ascending triangle formation as well on GLD. So you want to see this get over the wick here. I mean, personally, say about 174.70 will be that level that I want to see it get over. So once GLD gets over 174.70, then that'll be the level where you want to particularly go long. Otherwise, this will be your early entry if you want to test for the rejection or the breakout of the resistance on the ascending triangle on GLD. But I like the setup, given the fact that on the daily here, it looks like it's breaking out. I do like that setup here. But I would particularly wait for the break of the resistance on the ascending triangle that it has. All right. But other than that, let's see what tomorrow brings. Again, I mean, Shopify and Google probably be at the top of the list, more so or less. We'll see whether their names pretty much gap up or show a little more interest here. We'll see what the flow is pretty much also expressing tomorrow. It is Friday, so again, go a little light. If you got a lot of profits today off of these heavy moves that we had, don't be so quick to jump the gun and get back most of those profits to close out the week. So that's what I will say. And then also, given that next week is a holiday week as well, so that means that it's going to be potentially a short week. Just be a little mindful of that as well. If you're looking at some heavy potential swings, just be mindful of a short week as well. All right. So that may indicate a little bit of a lower volume week going into next week as well. So that's something just keep in mind as well. As a note in advance. But other than that, I'll keep you guys posted on anything that changes by morning. Let's see what the flow really gives us. What pretty much gaps up. I'm actually hoping that Google doesn't gap up, although I believe it is. Mental number on Google 3011. So that'll be my last note that I pretty much gave you. Once it breaks 3011, that's where it's just gonna go to the moon basically. All right. But other than that, I'm gonna call it a night. I know it's Thursday night football. Some of you want to get some rest. Some of you want to watch football. So I'll see you guys on live tomorrow morning. And hopefully it's not a boring day. I know it's going to be Friday. It's probably going to be a little choppy. But let's see what it is tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. Roblox, I really don't want to talk about that because every time I know it's going higher, I keep forgetting to look at it. So I'm going to just look past that one, and I'm going to let it be, all right? But other than that, again, I'll see you guys in the morning. I'll leave it at that.